fire away with your questions for Coach Miller.
How important is it to get the 1 seed?
It's a great opportunity, and I think if at the start of the year with a rebuilding team and an inexperienced and young team, if you told us we had 1 game left to play for the #1 seed, we would have taken it and probably not believed you. So we're really excited. It's a great opportunity. There is a difference with this new format between playing on Thursday in the quarterfinals and have to win 3 straight to get to the NCAA tournament, or playing on Friday and have to win 2 straight to get to the NCAA tournament. Obviously, we're all experiencing this new format together, and certainly 2 games in a row sounds easier than 3 in a row.
Curt, you mentioned when the season began, if you were in this position, how great it would be, and so on and so forth. At what point in the season did it occur to you, or did you see the glimmer that this might actually be possible?
I don't know if there was a specific point that the wins started compiling and we thought maybe we could do it again. I do know that there came a point that our defense was really good, and we were rebounding the ball and being competitive on the backboards. And so we looked around and said, if we can keep this up, our defense and rebounding hopefully can keep us in games, and we'll grind out and find ways to win games. And the more you won, the 7-game win streak after the Purdue loss was important to our psyche. But then after we lost to Creighton and started to string some games together, and we went through the first half of the East undefeated, and we got out to that 5-0 start in the East, all of a sudden you believed maybe we could do this. And so because of the defense still, that's what gave us that mentality.
You mentioned defense quite a few times this year. Is this one of your better defensive teams, or, I give you an either or, is it because you don't have as many efficient scorers as you had, the defense is showing more?
I think it's one of the better, if not the best, defensive team we've had. We have very good inside defenders. Alexis and Danielle both guard well. They're smart. They use their feet well against people that are bigger, but when you play undersized teams, they're athletic enough to guard in different areas. So we have a better inside presence night in and night out that way. We're a little bigger than we've been at the point guard position in recent years, and so Jess Slagle can be a little bit more physical and another defensive rebounding presence. And we still got good length on the wing, and the emergence of Jasmine Matthews as a freshman defender has been terrific. So, Lauren Prohaska is as good a defender as I've coached, but as a whole, this team is really good defensively. And we talk about it more because our offense just doesn't go out and win games. So our defense is talked about more, but there's reasons. They deserve to be talked about.
When the season started, did you have an inkling that they could be this good defensively, or have they developed more than you thought they might?
You never knew for sure, but Danielle was a good defender last year off the bench, and working with Alexis in practice, you knew she was going to be a defender, but until it came together, I think we were unsure. But Danielle and Lex have camaraderie out there. They both understand the game. They're both very X and O smart. It's been fun to watch develop throughout the year, and they're really talented.
And that's aided a little bit too defensively by some of the people who you can bring off the bench. You mentioned the inside players. Well, Captain Fliss and Stein aren't that bad inside, and a little bit of help on the wings too. So you're getting a 2 or 3 deep off the bench too.
Absolutely, without question. We don't have a team that's going to turn you 94 feet and run and jump you and press you. But in the half court, this team is smart X's and O's wise. So scouting reports, they understand, and they truly really buy into player personnel tendencies. And what we might not have, a kid from end line to end line like some teams, they really understand the team defensive approach.
Talk about Kent.
Much improved. I mean, it's been, what, 7 weeks, 8 weeks since we played them. They were our first MAC game. Again, a team that graduated essentially their whole team. And so it took them a while to get going. And they run a Princeton offense, which is a lot about timing and reading and making plays off of each other. And they are just, simply put, they're much better than they were early in the season. They've scored over 70 points their last 2 games. They've scored well 3 of their last 4 games. And they are very, very dangerous because a lot of kids on the floor shoot threes, and their constant motion gets you hesitant to pressure because they can backdoor you in any position. And so I've been really, really impressed with them offensively as of late. In the beginning of the year, we really thought we could shut them down, and if we had any kind of offensive night that we would beat them in Anderson. They are really scary right now. I'm sorry, in Stroh. You know, they're really scary offensively because they can shoot threes and they're going to drive it at you, and they are backdoor capable at any point. So really impressed with how Coach Lindsey's brought them along this season. So it will not be an easy task. We got beat there last year, you know, but we said, and I love it, it's almost poetic justice because we preached and preached and preached this. Good teams win at home. Championship teams win on the road. And for us to be a #1 seed and the overall champion, we got to go win on the road. And we've talked about that from the beginning this year. And so it's great that we tied a school record at home, but for us to call ourselves the outright champions, and you know, or at least #1 seed, we've got to go win on the road. You know, I'm so focused on the season that I misspoke in the last press conference that I hope we didn't have a chance to break the school record and win another home game, because I didn't want to be here in the WNIT. And you almost forget that if we win the MAC tournament, that we would be back here for the NCAA tournament. So I do want to break that. Let me be clear on that. I do want to break that home record, and because I was more thinking we would only be back here in the WNIT, but I guess that's good that I'm so focused that one game at a time and not thinking about the NCAA tournament.
Your health, you're back to, and you talk about being back to Curt. Is that, you even think about that anymore on the sidelines? Or you're just going out?
You know, I'm coaching. I'm still cognizant of, you know, I got at times to pick my battles. I'm battling more. I'm challenging them more, but I still have to pick some battles and I back off. And on game days, maybe not as much, but in practice, I told the team, we've lost to Kent 2 days in a row in practice. We have not practiced very well the last 2 days. So now, tomorrow, let's try to step up and beat Kent, because on Sunday and Monday, we have not beat Kent in practice. And so hopefully we'll play better. And but I was relatively calm in practice and picked my battles. And I'm you know, I'm battling a little more still on game days, Dave. But and that's where I think the biggest change is that I let a few things go when we didn't play great in practice the last 2 days.
Do you mind, Curt, sharing an example of maybe a battle that you've, I hate to say let slide, but maybe let's say it's a battle you picked not to fight?
Well, 2 examples today in practice. We had consecutive possessions offensive possessions that led to turnovers. And they were not forced turnovers by the men's practice squad, or they were just poor decisions. And you can't defend turnovers. They lead so easy to points, and every point is so critical for us. I might have stopped practice and ranted and raved to get my point across, and we just checked the ball back up and reset it and say, you know, we can run that play better. At the defensive end, we gave up consecutive backdoor layups at one point running Kent's offense. where, in the past I might have stopped and talked about we were making this kid look like an All-American, or that's exactly what's going to happen. We just looked at each other. I looked at my captain and said, if that happens to us, we won't be the #1 seed. And so I picked my battle on the intensity of trying to get the same message across. Is an example that happened today in practice.
You also mentioned the phrase you just used was, if we allow that to happen, we won't be the #1 seed. Do you find that is motivating this team at this point?
I hope so. I mean, there's no sugarcoating it now. A lot of times we worry about players, we worry about their tendencies, we worry about what they do, we worry about ourselves, but we don't talk about wins, losses. If you do some of these things that we believe are important in the game plan, the win and loss takes care of itself. We're talking a little bit more about the end result today. We have so much respect for Akron offensively. We have so much respect for the Miami program. And I just want to make sure, because the players are so new at Kent, and it's been nearly 2 months since we played them, that we have the absolute same amount of respect for their personnel and what they've done over the course of the season and how much they've improved as we would anyone else. So we're talking a little bit more end result and how what this could mean to our program, and never take for granted that you're going to be in this position again. There's no guarantees.
And something just totally off topic that you had mentioned about the scout team. Do you have a coach that works with them, that gives them the plays you want them to run then?
It's a good question.
Do you give them like a playbook, I guess is what I'm saying?
Coach Kevin is in charge of the men's practice squad. He is in daily communication with them on how much we're going to use them, when we're going to use them. Per day, though, it's the assistant coach whose individual scout it is. For example, Jennifer has Kent State. So Jennifer, during the practice, makes sure that the men's practice squad, offensively or defensively, at times is trying to mimic as closely as we can what we believe Kent will do to us at both ends of the floor. So the individual coach who scouted is works on with them specifically in preparation. Kevin's the ultimate day-to-day contact with them to have them organized when we need them, how much we need them, and who we're going to be able to get there that day. We have a core group that is not very big, that is selfless, and has been unbelievable helping us out. It's a relatively new group, a lot of them in their first year, and I can't be more pleased with what they've done to help us. And then they corral so many of their friends that come to our games. They've become a huge factor in the stands on game days also.
And what do you have, like 8 to 10 kids maybe on a rotating basis, or maybe not that many?
Not even that many. We're a program that tries to keep it lower. I've been asked by my administration to keep it lower. We have 4 that are consistently around. We have as many as 2 to 3 other kids that are very sporadic, but the guys come when they can come. It is not. It's a blessing if we have 5 men at practice. We typically have 3 or 4, and some of our players then round out that group when we need to go 5-on-5.
The administration wants to keep the numbers down because?
In Division I, the men's practice players are included on your squad list, but count as but still count gender-wise, they're still male, and so it can skew your gender equity numbers, and it can make it look like, because of roster sizes, that you have more men competing and a part of Division I athletics. So it comes back to gender equity. It comes back to squad lists and squad sizes that they don't want. At least the way we do it here at Bowling Green, they don't want to skew those numbers.
Anything else?